In this video, I'm going to be discussing how we're going to attach the subfloor to the trailer. We're actually going to use two different methods, but in this video we're only going to discuss the first one. The first method we're going to use to attach the subfloor to the trailer is we're going to use 3/8 inch, 3.5 inch long lag bolts and screw up underneath through the trailer decking into the subfloor. Now we're going to want to pre-drill the holes for the subfloor or for the decking because we don't want, as I described before, we don't want the lag bolt to actually catch on that. We want it to catch on the subfloor so that the pieces can bind together. If this caught on the subfloor and then it caught on the decking as well, then the pieces would never get to bind together. And when they don't get to bind together, when they don't get pulled tight together, the bond isn't going to be nearly as strong. So to do the pre-drilling, we could get underneath the trailer and pre-drill up through, but then we'd have to figure out where the boards are, where the joists are, and we'd be spending a lot of time underneath the trailer, and it's very difficult to work under there. So instead, what we've done is we've left the subfloor in different sections, and this way we can place each section where it needs to go, we can mark where the joists are, and then we can move the section out of the way, make our pre-drilled holes, put it back in place, and then get underneath the trailer to actually join it together. Now, as I said, we're going to pre-drill the trailer decking, but we're also going to make a very small pre-drill hole on the 2x4 joist as well, because this is a very, very large lag bolt, and if we were to go straight into this joist by itself, into a 2x4, it would very likely split it, making it completely ineffective. So we want to pre-drill these boards as well. But once again, we'll do that from underneath because it'll be much more difficult to try to line up the holes when they're not together. One additional note is I always like to start the subfloor framing wherever the front door is. So in this particular design, the front door is going to be on the back. This way I can ensure that everything looks good where it's going to be most noticeable, which is where you're walking into the house. Now if I were to start in the front and work my way back, and when I got to the back I was a little bit off, I'd have to make a correction back here so that it wasn't obvious when people were walking in the door that there was something off. Even though it might only be 1/4 of an inch, it's just better to start wherever you're going to be, wherever the most noticeable side is. So I went ahead and put my subfloor section in place. I moved it out of the way. I pre-drilled my holes. I moved it back in place, and now I'm going to crawl underneath the trailer and install the lag bolts. Now for the pre-drilled holes where I'm going to place the lag bolts, for this board I've got 3 lag bolts. I've got one in approximately the center, and then one on each end on the farthest out subfloor decking or trailer decking boards. Now for this one, I went to the next in trailer decking boards, and I don't have one in the center. So as I move forward, I'll alternate back and forth on the different boards so that not all the pressure is on the same decking boards. Now, as I said, the decking boards have been pre-drilled. They've been pre-drilled at 3/8 of an inch. Now I also want to pre-drill for this so that it doesn't split the subfloor board. So for that I'm going to be using a 3/16 of an inch, which is half of the bolt. Now after I pre-drill that hole and install a lag bolt, I'm actually going to get out, double check, make sure that first off I'm hitting the board, I'm not splitting the board, and that I'm making a tight bond. Also, to drive these lag bolts, I'm going to be using my impact driver with a ratchet adapter on the end of it for the 3/8 inch. This is actually the bolt itself is 3/8 of an inch, but the head is 9/16 of an inch. So I have a 9/16 of an inch socket on the end of my impact driver that I'll be using. Now, also, I don't want this board to be moving while I'm trying to drive screws into it and pre-drilling it. So what I've done is I've taken a couple nails and just nailed it down. That way I know it's not going to move. If you'd prefer, you can just use clamps, because once you start putting these in, it's not going to move. Well, the subfloor sections have all been assembled and they've been attached to the trailer. I ended up using 3 lag bolts per board. So even on the joists where the lag bolts from the side pieces were a little bit close together, I still ended up using one in the center. Now on this particular trailer, when I removed the alternating boards for the trailer decking, the center piece was removed. So there wasn't one directly in the center, there were 2. So as I ran the lag bolts down the center, I kind of alternated between the boards. Once again, we don't want to put all the lag bolts on one board, we want to kind of distribute it a little bit. So it's all attached, and I think we're good to go. Next step, insulation, and then the subfloor frame, the subfloor sheathing.